The Three Little Pigs, from the Babbles Audio Galaxy. A Modern Retelling, voiced by Brittany Babbles. Once upon a time, in a mid-sized city with terrible zoning laws and rising property taxes, three little pigs decided it was finally time to move out of their parents' basement. Their names were Brayden, Tyler, and Marcus. All three little pigs were trust fund babies. Their parents, more accurately, a discreet family office in a glass tower downtown, had quietly purchased the undeveloped hillside parcels years earlier and simply handed each brother the deed, the zoning approvals, and a modest stipend. To encourage self-reliance, they said. The little pigs never mentioned this part in their Instagram captions. They preferred the origin story that began with sweat, scavenged materials, and pure entrepreneurial spirit, omitting the part where the property itself had arrived gift-wrapped in a trust document. But back to the story. Brayden was the youngest pig, and he was chronically online. His entire personality was carefully curated. A mix of minimalism, sustainability, and whatever aesthetic was trending that week. He believed deeply in intentional living, which mostly meant he owned very few things, but he posted about it constantly. When the time came to build his own place, Brayden went all in on the vision. He constructed his house almost entirely out of Amazon boxes and free pallets he found in the trash. He got some yoga mats for the ground, and he put it all together with an alarming amount of duct tape. He called it a regenerative tiny home. The foundation was made of pure delusion. Tyler, the middle pig, was a self-taught handyman whose knowledge came exclusively from YouTube and the occasional Home Depot employee who made the mistake of making eye contact with him. He believed in rugged independence and building with your hands. His house was made of 2x4s, plastic storage bins, and an old screen door he found on the side of the road. He painted the whole thing a color called Industrial Farmhouse Gray. And when he was finished building, he slapped it and said, "This thing ain't going anywhere." Marcus, the oldest, had a real job. He had a credit score that could survive a light audit. And he had the quiet exhaustion of someone who already accepted that adulthood was mostly just paying for things that used to be free. He sold his piece of land and he bought a small brick condo. It had actual insulation, an HVAC system, and a mortgage that made him stare at the ceiling at 2 a.m. sometimes. It was not aesthetic. It was not content. It was a place to call home that wouldn't fall over if someone sneezed near it. For a while, life was relatively peaceful. Brayden posted daily vlogs about living soft. Tyler kept adding random shelves and calling them custom built-ins. Marcus paid his HOA fees on time and tried not to think about the fact that his brother's houses looked like they'd been assembled during a fever dream. Then Chad arrived. Chad was not your classic fairy tale wolf. He was a real estate investor in his early 30s who specialized in value-add opportunities and motivated sellers. He drove a used Tesla, wore performance fabric athletic wear at all times, and spoke exclusively in the language of leverage, disruption, and cash offers. One day, he decided that the Three Pigs' little neighborhood was underutilized, which in Chad speak meant he wanted it. He started with Brayden. Chad pulled up and checked his phone, got out of his car, and knocked on the cardboard door with the confidence of a man who had never been told no. "Little pig," he said, "let me in. I'm prepared to make a competitive cash offer." Brayden, who was mid-live stream, responded, "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin, king. This is private property. Also, everyone's watching." Chad took a deep, theatrical breath, puffed out his chest, and exhaled hard. The cardboard house didn't stand a chance. A light breeze was enough. The entire structure folded inward with a sad, papery sigh. Brayden scrambled out, clutching his phone and a half-eaten protein bar, somehow still managing to keep the live stream going. "Chat," he panted. "We just got huffed. Like, narratively." He fled to Tyler's house, while the comments section exploded with people asking whether that was a metaphor for late-stage capitalism. Chad followed in his used Tesla at a leisurely pace. At Tyler's house, the conversation was less philosophical and more to the point. "Little pigs," Chad called. "Let me in. I'm willing to discuss giving you each a share in the new luxury condos I'm going to build on your land." Tyler stood in the doorway, holding a hammer like it meant something. He confidently said to his brother Brayden, "Don't worry, bro. This structure's up to code. I watched 4 videos. One of them was 40 minutes long. This place ain't going anywhere." Chad huffed. He puffed. He put one expensive sneaker against the wall and leaned. And the house made a sound like a dying accordion. Another lean, and the whole thing shifted hard to the left and collapsed. Tyler and Brayden tumbled out in a cloud of sawdust and broken dreams. Both pigs, still somehow alive, sprinted the rest of the way to Marcus's brick condo. Brayden was already editing short-form clips of what was happening on his phone. Tyler was muttering about load paths and sheer walls like the words might reverse time. Marcus opened the door, took one look at his brothers covered in dust and wood shavings, and sighed a deep sigh of the only responsible sibling. "You can stay," he said, "but you're not touching the thermostat." Chad and his used Tesla rolled up 10 minutes later. He was slightly less composed. He tried the intercom. "Little pigs, let's talk. I can be very flexible on closing costs." Marcus replied through the speaker. "You can leave a message after the tone, or you can try the door. It's locked. Also, I've already notified the HOA and local law enforcement. Smile for the camera." Chad huffed. He puffed. But the brick condo stayed tall and erect. He tried a leaf blower he kept in his trunk, but the brick building remained unmoved. He attempted to climb onto the roof to go down the chimney in a traditional manner, but condos don't have chimneys. On his way down, Chad slipped, twisted his ankle, and then he spent the next 20 minutes sitting on the curb waiting for an Uber to take him to the hospital. But it kept getting canceled. Even Chad wasn't rich enough to afford the cost of an ambulance ride. Inside, the 3 little pigs ordered an excessive amount of pizza. Brayden immediately began cutting a trailer for a series he was already calling Surviving the Housing Market. Tyler was making an itemized list of all the things wrong with Marcus's condo, and he kept muttering about how he could fix things. Mind you, his house was a pile of sticks at the moment. Marcus sat there eating a slice of pizza and tried very hard not to calculate how he was going to get his brothers to move out. In the days that followed, Brayden's cardboard house collapse video went mildly viral. He got Tyler into it, and they started a TikTok series about rebuilding stronger. It mostly involved him buying more lumber that he didn't know how to use. Marcus talked to his therapist about the most polite ways to make his brothers move out, and he installed a second deadbolt just in case. As for Chad, he never fully left the area. He was occasionally spotted circling the block in his used Tesla, staring at the brick condo with the expression of a man who encountered something he could neither leverage nor disrupt. And so the 3 little pigs lived, not exactly happily ever after. The condo did have an HOA after all, and the fees only ever continued to rise. But at least it stayed standing. Plus, the Wi-Fi was reliable, and that felt like enough.